how did you get out of the shed? When I came home, my Mill was the first to say that to me. I hadn't been trapped anywhere. In fact, I just got back from the gym, wondering if my Mill misunderstood something. I headed to the backyard shed. From inside, I heard a familiar voice groaning. My name is Christine, and I'm 32 years old. I live with my husband, Bob, who's 3 years older than me, and my in-laws. I've been living with my in-laws since I got married. It was my MIL's strong wish. Being raised by a single dad, I was very happy that my Mill wanted to live with me. My own mother passed away due to illness when I was young. Since then, it was just me and my dad. He was very kind and loved me as much as two parents would. Still, I sometimes miss my mom. After getting married, having a mother figure was something I was thrilled about, especially since she wanted us to live together. My hopes were high, but my hopes were shattered. My Mill seemed to think of me as a maid or servant. On the day I moved in, my Mill told me, from today, you'll be doing all the household chores here. If you slack off even a little, be prepared to redo it. That's when my faint hope of a peaceful life with my Mill vanished. Furthermore, there was my Sil, Tammy, who would make my life miserable. My Mill was a nagging person. If she found anything even slightly out of place, she'd chime in. The cleaning today wasn't done properly. There was a strand of hair in the toilet. Please redo it. Just because a single hair was found in the toilet, I was ordered to redo the cleaning. Regarding the laundry, she'd say, there was a wrinkle left on my shirt. Didn't you learn how to iron properly? And she'd hand me the shirt that I had already ironed. Even if she said there was a wrinkle, it was just a slight one on the sleeve that you wouldn't notice once worn. Yet, I was made to redo the laundry and ironing in this scorching heat. Honestly, ironing in this hot summer feels like hell, and having to redo it feels like nothing short of bullying. Regarding the cooking, she'd say, today's dish was particularly bad. How did you manage to make something this tasteless? And she'd often leave the table without eating. The common complaint she had about my chores was, growing up in a single-parent home, you really can't do household chores properly. It's sad when there isn't someone to discipline you properly. She always says that. My being raised by a single father had nothing to do with my ability to do chores. It was simply that she didn't like the way I did them. Now, let me introduce you to my Sil, Tammy. Tammy lives close to my in-laws' house. She's the same age as me and is already married. She's a housewife and doesn't have a job, so I guess she has a lot of free time. She frequently visits and has fun chatting with my Mill, and they often team up to pick on me. To them, it's like anything they say about me is acceptable. Whenever they see me cleaning or cooking, you're always so clumsy. LOL. Maybe it's just your physique that's not suited for quick movements. LOL, they'd say. From this, you think I'm overweight, but I'm not. My body type is similar to Tammy's. It's baffling why she'd say that. But after hearing that repeatedly, I made up my mind. I'd get in better shape than Tammy, so she wouldn't say those things anymore. With this resolve, I spoke to Bob. Hey, do you think it'd be okay if I joined the new gym in our neighborhood? I want to be in good shape for my annual checkup in 6 months. That was an excuse for Bob. In reality, I was going to the gym to prove Tammy wrong. Bob didn't seem bothered and said, if you're paying with the money from your part-time job, it's fine, he said. So I happily started going to the gym. The gym turned out to be quite fun. I've always liked exercising, so I enjoyed weight training and running. Plus, the motivation to show up Tammy helped me push through the tough workouts. A month into my gym routine, I felt I was making progress. Yet, Tammy kept on with her comments. You really are so clumsy, aren't you? LOL. Your body just can't move quickly, can it? LOL. She'd say, laughing. I lost about 7 pounds over a month, and I could clearly see the difference in the mirror. Is there something wrong with my sister-in-law's eyes? Or maybe she just wants to make snide remarks. Whatever it was, I swore to myself to hit the gym even more so she wouldn't comment on me. And then another 2 months passed by. It was tough working out in the heat. I felt like giving up, but I wanted to prove my sister-in-law wrong. So I managed to lose another 7 pounds. That's a total of 14 pounds in 3 months. I'm proud of myself for losing weight in a healthy way. Even my husband noticed, saying, you've been looking good lately. It's all that gym work, right? I was thrilled with his reaction. But just when I thought I was in the clear, my sister-in-law started making comments like, you might have lost weight, Tammy, but you're still as clumsy as ever. I used to think it was just your body type, but maybe it's your personality. LOL. What the heck? What does she mean by personality? I'm so fed up with being at the mercy of her remarks. But I can't just quit the gym now. I have no idea how to get the upper hand with her, so I've been feeling down lately. One day, something unexpected happened. In this scorching heat, Mill asked me to clean up the shed in our backyard. You've been neglecting the shed, haven't you? I want you to clean it today. True, I've been neglecting the shed because of the heat. I didn't think it needed cleaning since nobody uses it. but Mill caught me off guard. Before heading to the gym, I quickly cleaned the shed and locked it up. When I got home after an hour at the gym, I greeted, "I'm back." Mill came to the front door and asked, "How did you get out of the shed?" Huh? I had no idea what she was talking about. "Mill, what do you mean? I cleaned the shed and then went to the gym." "What? I locked you in the shed." "Locked me? I am here though." I couldn't understand what she said and decided to go there anyway. "Mill, where did you put the key?" I asked. "Wait, I thought I had locked you in there to teach you a lesson." "A lesson? For what?" "I threw the shed key into the creek in the backyard. I thought there was no way you'd get out." I couldn't believe my ears. "Huh?" I shouted. "Why would you do that? You've been looking better lately." And it seemed to upset my daughter, Tammy. "I thought I'd punish you a little." Speaking of Tammy, isn't she supposed to visit today? Huh? Mill had a realization and rushed to the shed. She banged on the door, and from inside, we heard a faint "help." I recognized that voice. Same to Mill. "Tammy," Mill screamed. The voice we heard from shed was Tammy's. It turned out that the one locked inside the shed was my sister-in-law. I remembered there was a spare key for the shed, so I rushed inside the house to find it. Meanwhile, Mill kept banging on the shed door and yelling, "Tammy, without being much of help. Shouting wasn't going to open it. She's probably been trapped in there for about an hour, so she could be in real danger from heat stroke. The best thing to do would be to quickly look for the key." But my useless Mill. It took about 5 minutes to find the key once I went inside the house. Surprisingly, I found the key rather quickly. With the key in hand, I rushed to the shed in the backyard, and when I opened the shed with the key, there she was, my sister-in-law, lying inside. She was barely breathing, and I knew this was bad. I immediately called 911, and with my Miles' help, we managed to move my sister-in-law into a room with air conditioning. We then started cooling her down with ice packs, placing them around her neck, underarms, and inner thighs. It was crucial to reduce her body temperature. She wouldn't drink any water, so all I could do was hope the ambulance would arrive quickly. Not even 10 minutes after calling 911, the ambulance arrived. My Mill was still panicking, so it wasn't feasible for her to accompany her daughter. So I had to step in, despite my Mill arguing I should be the one to go with her. The paramedics wouldn't let such a frantic person on board, so I went with them, and the ambulance left. Upon reaching the hospital, I called my Mill. I then called my husband and asked him to inform my sister-in-law's husband and father-in-law about the situation. Within an hour, the family had arrived at the hospital. The first to arrive was my downcast Mill. Even with everyone there, she remained despondent. It was her fault for creating this situation, yet I had to explain it. Though, to be honest, I didn't fully understand it either. I simply said, "It seems Mill confused me with Tammy and accidentally locked her in the shed, and to delay her release, she apparently threw the key into the backyard creek." I explained. The family was just as clueless after hearing my explanation. The details would probably only be clear after Tammy recovers. She was put on N4 drip and woke up about 2 hours after arriving at the hospital. It was clear she had been in grave danger. Once Tammy woke up, it was decided she'd stay in the hospital for just 1 day. Her husband would be with her from now on, so the rest of us decided to head home. During this time, my Mill didn't say a word. Once we got home, my father-in-law began interrogating her. "Damn it, woman, what on earth was today's commotion about? Say something." This was more of a scolding than a question. Perhaps my husband also demanded answers from Mill. If we're to believe what Tammy said, did you intend to lock her up? Why would you even think of doing something like that? Despite being questioned by the two of them, my Mill remained silent. I have no idea how to let her speak. I wondered if she'd talk if Tammy were present. The next day, Tammy, having been discharged, came to the house. I had already asked her husband to bring her. Upon seeing Tammy, Mill finally spoke. "Tammy, are you all right now?" Mill tried to hold Tammy's hand, but Tammy pushed it away. "How dare you lock me up and then ask if I'm okay? I heard you gleefully saying I couldn't be saved, and yet you ask if I'm okay. What's your deal?" My Mill looked shocked after hearing this from Tammy, but she quickly started making excuses. "Listen, Tammy, I wanted to teach that overconfident Tammy a lesson, but I never imagined you'd be in the shed. I'm truly sorry. Please forgive me." My husband then interjected, "Hold on, Mom. I can't ignore what you just said. Did you really intend to lock Catherine up? Did you think it'd be fine if something happened to her?" Caught off guard, the Mill was flustered. "No, no way. I would have obviously gone to help her when it was time. I heard you threw the key in the river." Well, that was. In the end, the Mill was cornered. She felt trapped, not just by her son, but also by her daughter. It was then the father-in-law spoke up. "We're getting divorced." It was an unexpected declaration. "You put our kids in danger and make excuses. I'm fed up with you. Haven't you always been horrible to Catherine? Did you think I didn't know?" He had been told about how Catherine had been treated like a maid in the house just yesterday by the Mill herself. That must have made him decide. The Mills started to panic. Dad, divorcing over this. Isn't that an overreaction? It was just a little mischief. Besides, it's natural for a daughter-in-law to serve the household she marries into. A little bit of strictness is unavoidable. As for Catherine, Tammy had said some pretty mean things too. What about that? The Mill was desperate. It was evident she wanted to save herself, even if it meant exposing her own daughter. Mom, that's irrelevant right now. Tammy, the daughter, exclaimed in a panic. It was chaos. I was lost on what should be done next. Finally, my husband stepped in. It's clear both you, Mom, and Tammy have been bullying Catherine. We'll leave this place. Whether you get divorced or you and Tammy fight, it doesn't concern us anymore. You can keep arguing for all we care. Saying this, he took my hand and led me to our room. He began packing our essentials. Just pack what we absolutely need. We'll ask Dad to send the rest later. Let's stay in a monthly rental for a while and look for a new place during that time. And with that, we could finally leave my husband's parents' home. I was relieved that the days of being tormented by the Mill and Tammy were over. As we left, the Mill and Tammy were arguing, but I felt so light knowing it wasn't my problem anymore. Later on, I heard the Mill and Sarah's arguments escalated to potentially suing over the incident of locking someone in the shed. It's ironic. They used to be so close. If it weren't for the Mil's actions, they'd still be a loving mother and daughter. But now they are on the sue. After all, Mill proposed to pay compensation to Tammy. Sarah seemed to have settled for a hefty amount of money as compensation from her mother. Considering the life-threatening nature of the incident, it might have been a reasonable amount. The parents did eventually get divorced. The shed incident must have been a huge shock for the father-in-law. Even after dividing their assets, the Mill was struggling financially, kicked out of her home, and paying compensation in installments. She was living hand-to-mouth with no savings. She had to work hard and live alone. After divorce, my Phil gave no support to Mill. Now she lives alone in an old apartment and works multiple jobs to pay off the compensation and cover her living expenses. She's having a tough time, but the fact remains that she endangered someone's life. I hope she reflects on her actions for the rest of her life. As for us, the father-in-law invited us to come back home, but my husband firmly refused. Cleary, he said we will live together, just two of us. He probably thought I'd have a hard time if we returned. I feel lucky to have such a supportive husband. We have cut off ties with the Mill and Sarah, but we still occasionally talk to the father-in-law. We look forward to peaceful days ahead, just the two of us. By the way, my husband mentioned how fit I've become, so I plan to continue my gym visits.